Hey everybody, welcome to a really special test that we've got for you here at Cycle News. The man to my left is my very good buddy Chris Fillmore. Now, Chris is a bit of a legend in the American racing scene, factory road racer, factory supermoto racer, but 2020 he realised basically a lifelong dream, finally got the American Supermoto Championship under his belt. We were teammates in a way. We slept in the same room, you know, so I'm calling that teammates. But it was really cool to see you get out there, dude, and finally win it, because you were pumped when you got on that.
Yeah, well, every year I have to kind of figure out what I'm going to do to go racing, right? Like I kind of get one hurrah, and it seems to be 3 years of Pikes Peak, and then 2020 was, I think, an interesting year for everybody, but back to my roots in the Supermoto.
Yeah, no, you hadn't lost any skill. Far out.
I lost a little bit of endurance and a little bit of intensity, but by the end of the weekend I was kind of feeling back to a version of my old self.
Yeah, no, it was great to watch. I mean, there's clips out there on YouTube and all that of the 2020 AMA Supermoto Championship. It was one round championship that was held out in, was it Musselman Raceway in Arizona?
Yeah, just outside in Tucson.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to give props to Alex Mock and the DRT racing guys for actually pulling together some form of championship that we could at least go out and race. But anyway, sorry, I've gone a bit off course here. We're going to talk about this thing. This is the bike that you raced at the AMAs. It's an evolution of what you raced at Pikes Peak last year.
Yep.
And yeah, so let's tell us a little bit about it, because I got to ride it and it's mental, but I'm not Chris Fillmore, so so let's have a bit of let's show us what's up with this thing.
Well, basically the idea behind it, when we went to Pikes Peak the first time in 2017 in the heavyweight, and I was able to, at the time being, take that record. He's got it now. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and then I had a good time, and I had that taste, and I wanted to go back. So then I went to the middleweight. Same thing, record. What's next? Okay, the lightweight. So
you did it in the opposite way that most guys do it.
Yeah, I wish I would have done it in the other way, because we had some scary moments on the big bike at first. But either way, it was a good time, as always. Motorcycle racing is. So when I started looking at the rules, we kind of looked at, for the lightweight, we looked at the option. We could do a 390 Duke, or 450 Supermoto, and I think for the lightweight, the most competitive bikes that have been there have been Supermoto bikes. Sure. So we ended up going with the 450 Supermoto.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an evolution of our factory edition, and we ended up just kind of picking parts. Luckily I got to hand pick them into what I wanted, and it was a little bit of trial and error, but we ended up with something very close to what this is today.
Right. So you had obviously direct access to the guys that, you know, unfortunately a lot of guys don't get to get, and it definitely made a difference. I mean, like, you've built a pretty incredible bike.
Yeah, so I guess, like, to give you guys like a quick rundown of exactly what's happening here. Standard 450 SXF chassis, and then the biggest difference for Supermoto is the suspension setting. Obviously wheels, tires, super strong front brake. That's the basis of it. So lucky for me, being able to work in the factory racing department, it was a pretty easy shoe-in for me to kind of, you know, may I please have a factory engine. So they handed me one of these, and
So that's a version of the Supercross engine, isn't it?
Basically, yeah, it's a version of Supercross flat track even.
Right, yeah. Because that's one thing I forgot to tell you. He's the flat track team manager for Red Bull KTM now. That's his actual day job.
And I get to race a little bit here and there once in a while, thankfully. You know, keep sharp and keep tuned in and have a better understanding what these things can do and what they're all about. But the engine, on the engine side, the way that factory racing works, they have a lot of different specs that they developed, so there's a lot to choose from. So I got to talk to Leighton, and they kind of we kind of just took a stab at it. There wasn't a lot of time to do testing, but with their experience, they had a recommendation, and I think first time on it was immediately faster lap times and a bigger smile.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, that's what plugged in that, and then buddy George at WP, he was in charge of R&D. He helped me with the suspension settings. Came out. We came out and did one test, and then I had one variation change. So again, there wasn't a lot of testing, but I feel like we nailed it from the very beginning.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think back to that race in Arizona, especially, and there were some good bikes there. Like some of those Hondas were quick, but they didn't quite have the overall package that this thing had. Like, this seemed just to be a little bit better everywhere, and obviously the rider helps.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much a thing of supermoto racing, especially. It's such a rider-specific sport, because you've got to be good in the dirt, you've got to be good on the road, you've got to be able to transition between styles, you've got to be able to jump, which I cannot jump to save my life.
You just got to practice more, man.
Yeah, I know. I need to go out and just send it a few times. But yeah, it was good to see, at least at that championship, that Supermoto is kind of alive and kicking in America, because it really fell off the public consciousness really in the last few years, which is pretty shitty, really.
I have the same exact thing. Like, I went there and it definitely lit the fire again.
For sure.
Just to see the paddock, the amount of people that were in the pits, the camaraderie, everybody was like getting along, hanging out after the races.
Yeah.
We raced hard and then all hung out after.
Yeah.
And that was something that kind of was always unique in the supermoto world. And yeah, it's good to see it. Good tracks, lots of fun, still going fast, and the competition was tight.
Yeah. So when I rode the bike, the first thing I noticed was how tall it is. Like, even before I even set off, I was like, holy smokes, this thing feels that much taller. It's probably not that much, but like, what was it, like an inch taller on the front? And then
I would have to check back in the build sheets, but essentially it's the standard length motocross fork and shock.
Right.
It valved for my specific requests.
Right, so the ones that you get on the standard bike, though, because we've been riding the standard bikes back and forth today.
They're lowered.
They are lowered.
Yeah, they are lowered fork and shock.
Yeah, whereas this one's gone back to the motocross length.
Yeah,
but with different valving.
It's just something that I kind of figured out a long time ago, and I tried it and I liked it. It excels in the faster tracks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The tracks where it's more flowing, you need more lean angle.
Yeah.
And just the extra ride height gives it to you.
Man, I could barely get the thing to scrape a peg.
Yeah.
Excuse me. On a standard 450, the thing will just be scraping everywhere. But then on this thing, it's like, okay, keep going, and then you just get it, and that's the point. At that point, you're so far leaned over, you're not really getting much in terms of lap times anyway.
And yeah, I think it's a personal preference, because I was asking people at the race as well, and a lot of people prefer it lowered.
Yeah.
It's something that I kind of adapted to, and based on like a variety of different tracks. But at Pikes Peak, when we set this up for that, there's so many fast sweepers, as you know.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to make sure the ground clearance was there for that when I went there, and then I was happy with it. We never changed it.
Yeah. This thing's kind of hard work. I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, it was. I mean, I had the thing in my head too of like, don't crash his championship bike. Like, so just.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jeez. This thing's actually going to Austria, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I got an email the other day that they've requested it to go over to the motor hall.
Oh, that's
so it'll
cool.
be on display with the #1 plate for 2020.
It sucks to see it go, but it's pretty dope to have one of your bikes there. Like,
it's a complete honor, but yes, I will be sorry to see it go. And they're taking my toy, but maybe I can take one of these SMRs.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, when I rode it, very tall. Braking stability is unreal.
Yeah.
Like, you can slam that brake so late, and I mean, compared to a stock bike, the thing just wants to endo. This thing sort of sits in the corner nice. The clutch The slipper clutch on that thing is just amazing.
Yeah.
But the standout performer is that motor. Far out, that thing's quick, dude.
Yeah, it's quick and smooth. It makes power everywhere, and that was the thing that impressed me the most. Whether you're in the top end or you're short shifting it or just carrying an extra gear through a corner because it's a little bit smoother. It's always predictable, and it's always, I feel, very very linear throughout the
Man,
power
just
band.
like cruising through some of the shorter, the slower corners here, longer corners, you can. There's no jerkiness, no nothing, and it just comes on. Once it's on, far out. Like, you have to be over the front to stop the thing from wheeling.
For me, it keeps me wanting to just twist the throttle, like at every corner, with the quick shifter too. You know, like that thing just adds to it, never having to let off.
Man, like that's the one thing I couldn't get the thing to shift right, because there was such a gap between where the normal.
I think it's the shift tip, because when you set it and I went to the SMR and then I went back to this, I missed it a couple times too.
Yeah.
So I think there is something just a little bit different there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very honoured to have ridden this thing, because it is a very important bike to KTM, and obviously to you. When did you start racing? Was it like 2003 or something you started Supermoto?
Yeah, it was. I was 16 years old, and I'm 33 today.
Man, that's a long time to be chasing one title, man, to finally get it. Like,
half a life ago.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, so I know we had a lot of beers that night, so it was good times.
I think you beat me there at least.
Probably did. Yeah, I was going to win something. Yeah, guys, like for me, it was just a joyride, let's be honest. The last thing I wanted to do is yard this thing, and but yeah, it is remarkable how much it's like the 450 SMR just ratcheted up. I mean, it feels like a 550 from my amateur legs. You know, like the way this thing just punches and has so much go in it, like, and it just keeps going and going. I mean, like it would be bloody good fun at somewhere like Pikes Peak, where you could just whoosh, and just send it.
Only affects it there is the elevation.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. How did the elevation affect that engine? Did it?
It did. It's still a single. You know, I remember riding the 1290 Super Dukes there. Like, it even affects them top end. But you know, the one place I thought I was going to be the fastest was in the switchbacks in the middle of Pikes Peak, and then that was my slowest section comparatively to everybody else. And I think it was just because it's stop, go through the gearboxes, and you really need the power to go from a standstill to, you know, top speed again. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I remember when we were running those Super Dukes the first year, and then the second year when you and I were teammates, was like the first thing you had to do was just gear things all the way down, just to try and make up for the lack of grunt that this thing's taking. I remember going across Pikes Peak the first time with that 1290 with what I thought was all right gearing, and it was like, what the hell's happened to my bike? Like, if you've ever ridden a 1290, like the things just live on the back tire, it wouldn't do wheelies. I was like, what's happened to my bike?
Yeah, that's 14,000 foot.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
no,
the engine's just going.
Yeah.
And so was the rider at that point as well. I was like, why are we here?
Yeah, towards the top for sure.
Yeah, man, Luke, thank you very much for letting me have a ride on this, dude. Like, it's definitely one for the record books. Yeah, it's a spectacular thing. It's a factory bike, let's be honest, and like it's a really cool factory bike. Like it's rad to see KTM back into the game. There's rad to see the 2021 SMR as well. Like, you know, this is a sport that KTM pretty much invented, really, like in the modern text, really. For
sure, they dominated for a lot of years. They won a lot of championships in America as well as over in FIM and in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So, who knows, man? I'm hoping 2021's going to see a few more races and a few more titles, but we'll see.
I hope I can defend this red #1 plate here next year, but we'll see. We'll see what 2021 serves out.
Nice one, bud.
Cheers, dude.
All right, guys, that's it. That's a bit of a wrap up. Any questions, comments, concerns? Give them to him. But no, actually, just leave them in the comment section below. And yeah, if they are directed at Chris, I will make sure that Chris gets back to you. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Yeah, we're a week away from Christmas, so happy holidays wherever you are in the world. 2020 is almost done, guys. We're almost there. I don't know if it's just going to change automatically on the 1st of January 2021, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.